I had a pharmacist colleague that died just a few months after he retired, and it completely changed my whole perspective on life. I used to think that I would be successful if I got good grades, graduated college, got a high paying job, and worked until I was 60 so that I could retire with a 401k. But after my colleague's death, I realized that I was wrong. My colleague worked his whole life as a pharmacist, hating his job. He would constantly tell me that he believed that a monkey could even do his job. And because he had 3 divorces, he felt that he was slaving away to pay for his ex-wife's lifestyle, barely having any leftover money for himself. When he finally got to the age that he retired, at the age of 65, we threw a crazy retirement party for him. But get this, just 3 months later, he had a massive heart attack and died. Can you imagine working all of your life at a job that you hate to finally be free only to pass away just 3 months later? But that wasn't the worst part of all of this. The worst part actually came just 3 weeks later. Everyone at work went to business as usual, almost like he never even existed in the first place. I realized that I didn't want this to happen to me, to work so hard for somebody else just to be replaced the following day. To know that you are expendable and can simply be tossed away if your boss doesn't like you. What was the meaning in that? So I chose a different path because I wanted to build something that I could call my own. My own dent in the universe, if you will. I chose to pursue financial freedom instead. And that's what ultimately led me to real estate investing. I was browsing the financial book section of Barnes & Noble, and I stumbled upon a book by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it taught me how to actually build wealth and my own legacy. In the book, Robert explains that rich people learn how to make money without trading in their time for it. The rich buy what we call assets, which are basically things that put money in your pocket without you having to trade in your time for it. The rich buy what he calls assets, which are things that put money in your pocket every month that you don't have to trade in your time for. The best example of an asset is a rental property because it gives you monthly cash flow, which is basically the leftover profit after you subtract out your mortgage payment and expenses from the rental income that you make. Once you buy enough properties and have that cash flow that can replace your W-2 salary, that's the point where you become W-2 optional, meaning it's optional if you come to work or not. At that point, your financial situation isn't impacted significantly if you quit your job. And this is the point where you can do what you want, where you want, with whomever you want to do it with. By the way, if you're loving this video and perspective and you want to hear more about how you can invest in real estate as a busy professional, don't forget to like and subscribe to get more content just like this. So at this point, of course, I was feeling inspired and I wanted to pull the trigger on getting my first rental as soon as possible. In hindsight, I was a bit overeager and my actions were a little bit rash. What I did was I called up a realtor and I pretty much bought the very first property that I saw with him. It was a 100-year-old house, and soon after I bought it, I lost over $30,000 on it. What I didn't know then is I basically paid what I call the blind spot tax. This is the tax that you have to pay for not knowing what I'm about to go over next. Hopefully my story can help you avoid it. So I got this call at around 11 p.m. at night that there was this brown liquid that was spewing out of the kitchen sink. It was all over the kitchen floor and it smelled like poop. I had to scramble to find a plumber to stick a camera down the sewage line to figure out what was going on. It turns out there were tree roots breaking into the line, cut the line in half so that I had to replace the entire sewage line, which was about $9,000. I think I remember shaking my head and slamming my fists on the desk in frustration when I heard how much it would cost. I didn't know that a sewage lateral line inspection isn't normally included when you're buying a rental, but getting that inspection would have saved me from having to pay that massive blind spot tax. So soon after the poop story, I had a tenant call me to say that their items were literally melting in their room because it was 105-degree weather and the house had no AC. I had to frantically find somebody to install a new AC, which cost me $15,000. All in all, I lost over $30,000 on that property. So, how do you make sure that what happened to me never happens to you so that you can rest easy and be one step ahead of most newbie investors? Well, here's what most first-time home buyers don't know. You can actually hand the seller the repair bill before you close on the property. Specifically, what I do is I have a contractor go in and give me a written bid or cost breakdown of how much it would be to make those repairs. You then take that written bid and send it to the seller to ask them to cover the full cost before you finish purchasing the house. That way, the seller pays, not you. And you get the peace of mind that when the seller hands over the keys to you, that they're handing over a property that's in great shape so that you're not stressing over a property that's falling apart. Now, the $30,000 mistakes did teach me a major lesson. And that is, if a house is only cash flowing $200 to $400 a month, which most single family homes do, then there's absolutely no way that you can be profitable. Because think about it this way, if you divided that $30,000 in repair costs by the $300 a month that you're getting in cash flow, then it would take you 100 months to break even and cover those repair costs. The math simply didn't math out. I call this the cash flow trap, because if you're only making $300 a month in cash flow, then you're just one broken system away from losing 3 to 4 years of profit in one night. So, how do you escape the cash flow trap? Well, I got lucky and I stumbled upon a strategy that completely changed the game for me. Instead of making just $200 to $400 a month, this strategy on average made me $1,500 to $2,500 per month in cash flow on a single rental property. And the basic concept is that you take a single family home, but then rent it out as a multi-unit property. You can do this by renting out individual bedrooms instead of the whole house. It's kind of like if you took a whole pizza, and instead of selling the whole pizza for $15, you instead slice it up. And then you sell it by the slice for $5 per slice times, let's say, 6 slices. That makes $30. So on the exact same pizza, you're making $30 by selling it by the slice rather than $15 by selling it as a whole pizza. And you're getting double the money. This is exactly what renting by the room does. You typically double your normal rental income. Let me show you a quick example. Here's a house that I bought where rentometer.com estimates that it will make an average rent of a little bit over $1,900 per month. However, as you can see on the video right now, I'm actually making about $7,300 per month on it instead. This strategy was a real game changer for me because if I could make $2,000 or more per month on average in cash flow for every property that I purchased, then that means I only needed 5 or 6 houses in order to make 6 figures in cash flow to replace my pharmacist salary. And that would lead me to financial freedom and early retirement. Now, I was also hesitant about having that much debt on my houses. I was looking at how much I was paying the bank, and I wanted a bigger piece of the pie. I told my friend about this, and he said that he had a friend that bought 8 properties in Sacramento, California. What this friend did is he took 2 out of the 8 houses and sold them so that he could pay off the mortgages on all of the other 6 properties. So basically, he owned 6 properties free and clear without a mortgage payment. And that gave my friend's friend peace of mind. Let me go ahead and show you what this actually looks like on the whiteboard. So let's say that we have 4 properties total. These 3 lines right here are the mortgages for 3 of the properties that go from here to here. And this green line that goes upwards here is the equity on the 4th property. Finally, we have this red line that goes down here, which is the total debt of all 3 mortgages added up together. As you can see on the graph, there is this point where the green line crosses the red line. That's the point that I call the debt eclipse. The debt eclipse is the point at which the equity that you built on one property exceeds the debt that you have on the other 3 properties. That's the exact point in time where you can sell that one property and own the rest of the properties free and clear. So in this case, we're selling the fourth property to pay for the other three. Imagine that you have no mortgage on 3 properties, and each of those properties is making $3,600 a month in rental income, most of which you get to keep. 3 properties with that amount of income with hardly any expenses is enough to retire early. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, Ryan, but I don't have enough money to buy 4 properties. Well, what if you didn't need it? In this video up here, I'll show you what I call the 90-10 deal, where your business partner puts up 90% of the down payment and you only put up 10%. But you still get all of the control over the deal. Go ahead and click up here to watch it so that you have another tool under your belt for buying real estate. And as usual, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you.